Hello and welcome. My name is Erin McGuire. I'm just adjusting this light here. I wanted to hop on and just give a live. I don't do lives here really that much anymore. And so, one, I wanted to give you all that are with me here some information and hopefully something that kind of sparks something new for you. And then also, just to give back, just to be here and show up and give back. A lot of the lives I do now are over on my Women Rising group. So if you're a woman and you're not part of that, head on over there and join. And then I do those about once a week. Anyway, if you are watching either now or the replay, just type a comment and say hi, say what's up. I'd love to know who's here. And let's kind of get into what I'm talking about today. So the question I posed is, what has to happen for you to move to your next level version? So give me a thumbs up if this resonates for you, if this is something you're into talking about. I think in our culture, we get really caught up in like setting goals and, New Year's resolutions. We're kind of still in that phase. It's hard to believe it's the end of January already, but it is. And we're still kind of in that I have to achieve this goal. I have this New Year's resolution. I want to be this person. I want to do this. I want to do that. And that is a big piece of it, right? Some people aren't even in the place where they're consciously thinking about goals that they have for themselves or what they want next in their life. And so you have to have that. You have to have a roadmap for where you're going, where you want to go, instead of just kind of leaving it up to chance, right? So when we set goals, when we have intentions, then we are saying this is the route I want to head towards, right? But what happens, so again, goal setting, intention setting is a big piece of the puzzle. We have to have that piece in play so that we know where we're going. But if you leave it there, if you leave it at, I'm just going to put out this intention and try to do this and make this happen in kind of a forceful way, what ends up happening a lot of the time, and if you look at any of the research on New Year's resolutions, most of them fail by like mid-February. And that's not to beat yourself up about if you are already off your track towards what you want, but it's rather to shine light on why that might be happening so that I can help you move in a different direction, if that makes sense. So again, if you're here, just say hi. I'd love to know who's here, and let's get into it. So the first step is we have to have a goal. We have to know where we're going. We have to have that roadmap for ourselves. And then the second piece is where most people fall short. There's a couple more pieces into that, but is obviously we have to take actions. We have to take actions to get towards the goal. We can't just say I want to be this thing or do this thing. There actually has to be action steps that we take. Most of us know that, right? Losing weight is a great example of that. I can say I want to lose weight, but if I'm not taking the actions towards it, then I'm not going to get the results. That's pretty obvious, right? So we know there needs to be action. But the third piece is where what I'm saying, so the goals that I'm wanting to manifest, I'm saying that I want these things, etc. I'm saying that and believing that with my conscious mind. Meanwhile, the subconscious is over here holding 90% of the mind. So all the stuff, all the beliefs from that we created in childhood based on how we were treated, experiences that we've lived through that prove those beliefs to be correct, any kind of trauma that we've been through, whether it's little t trauma or big T trauma, and all of our feelings and just everything kind of lives in the subconscious, what we're unconsciously creating. And so if you've followed me at all over the years, the subconscious mind work is basically this huge piece that I work with and have worked with for years and years and years. It's the key to really getting what you want, not in a magical sense, but in a psychological sense, because the stuff that's in the unconscious, if not brought to the conscious mind, continues to live in the dark and manifest in ways for you that you wouldn't like. So it's kind of like I set the goal every January 1st, for example, to lose weight, and I'm on a good track for about a month, and then all of a sudden something happens and I have to take a week off, and then all this self-doubt and unworthiness starts coming in. Like, why even bother? Who are you to do that? You're never going to be the weight that you want to be, so you might as well just accept it. And I'm using weight loss as an example because it's a very tangible thing. It's very easy to say I want to lose weight and like physically notice differences. So the unworthiness, the I'm not good enough stuff, the whatever comes up because that's in the subconscious. And then we listen, we believe those stories, and they scare us out of taking action steps forward. Leave me a comment or a thumbs up if this is making sense to you. So I came up with three different things that have to happen in order for you to move to that next level version of yourself. Because we can all say we want it, but when it comes down to the nitty-gritty actions and kind of like the scary resistance that comes up, very few people are willing to actually go that extra mile to make it happen, even when it's uncomfortable. And just be honest if that's you. I mean, that's been me so many different times in my life. I've done that so many different times. Like the second resistance comes, I run for the hills. Like, I don't want to deal with this. I don't want this. This must not be for me. This must not be in alignment for me, or I wouldn't have so much resistance. That's a story I've told myself before to stop me from doing what it is that I want to move into that next version. So most of us, a lot of people, we want to live in our comfort zone. Why? Because it's comfortable. And what happens is, even for people that have made massive changes in your life, like I've transcended many different levels of myself time and time again. But what I've noticed from doing that for so many years, even when I've moved into a level in a place that's good, right, where I'm living my purpose work and, I'm happy and all that kind of stuff, you can get to a plateau and you can start to feel kind of lethargic or bored, or, like life just isn't as exciting. And that's when we know that like the soul is asking for more, for that next level you to come out. Like, we're never gonna get there. And I know that's kind of depressing to think about. It just is. But it's like your soul didn't come here to have an easy ride, to like just sit back and like cruise. Our souls came here to expand, to grow, to expand, as I just said, to keep expanding. And it doesn't mean that we're constantly going to have to be in a process, but it just means you'll know when it's time to move to the next level, because you're going to feel that lethargy, that boredom, that less aliveness than you felt before. Maybe you get really tired. If you've been following my journey, I just went through that. I was really bored, really tired, really a lot of things. And there's so much in my life that I have to be grateful for. But I'm being called now to my next level. And if I don't kind of face it, I'm gonna be kind of stuck, right? That's where we get stuck. We get kind of stuck and we're just not feeling passionate anymore, or like life, like excited about life, that kind of thing. So I share that to say that if you're in a comfort zone right now, it doesn't mean that you've always been there. It's just maybe it's time to shift to the next level, even if life is really good right now. And I hope that's making sense. I'm not seeing any comments, so you'll have to let me know if it is, and you can let me know later too, that's fine. But so comfort zones, a lot of us like to live in them. They're comfortable, and then anytime we shift out of and start expanding into that next level version of ourselves is we're going to be asked to get uncomfortable. Okay, so the greatest example I have of this in nature is the caterpillar going into the cocoon to become a butterfly. This is nature, I believe, God's, spirit's, nature's gift to us human beings to show us what's possible. And also show us that it's a bit of a painful process too. So if you've ever looked up what has to happen for a caterpillar to turn into a butterfly, it literally is turning from one being into a completely other being. Like, it's fascinating. I read about it all the time. I think it's absolutely fascinating. But the caterpillar eventually at some point, it feels called to go make its little cocoon, which kind of, forgive me, I don't know the exact science behind all of it, but it finds a place, it rests, and it starts making a cocoon around itself. And then once it's in the cocoon, it turns into a chrysalis, which is literally like it turns into goo. It is the weirdest thing. It is absolutely the weirdest thing ever, and an absolute miracle that this happens. So it turns into this goo where literally like its brain is over here, its feet, everything gets kind of gooed up. I don't know how it stays alive in that process. If anybody has information about that, because I thought about that. I'm like, how does it stay alive when it's mushed up into this goo? So it gets mushed up into this goo. It's really uncomfortable. It's really painful. It's got to be painful to move from one being into another being. It's not an easy process, right? And then eventually it starts forming its wings. So all of this magic happens inside of that cocoon, and the cocoon holds the intelligence of that process to happen and to unfold. It's fascinating. And then eventually it has to break out of its cocoon, stretch its wings, and try to learn how to fly now. So that is nature's gift to us humans, to show us the process that we too go through if we're willing to be the warrior and kind of go through that process. You will move from one being into another being. And I feel like that is what I have been in. I've been in this kind of cocoon stage for probably about a year. And it's been really, really uncomfortable at times and really profound at other times, just profound wisdom and gifts like shared. But it took me having to integrate into it and sit with it, which is, that's the most uncomfortable part, is to just allow it to be instead of getting really frustrated and like, why am I in this place? Why am I having these thoughts? Why do I feel so exhausted? So I'm sharing all of that with you, and I swear I'm going to get to the point here soon. But I'm sharing that process of the butterfly with you because it is absolutely what we have the ability to go through, and it's uncomfortable. It's not easy, okay? So I've got 3 things here that have to happen to move to the next level version of yourself, okay? And the first thing is that we've got to start rewiring your brain. So by this, I mean all that stuff in the subconscious, like I was sharing at the beginning of the video, all that stuff that's in the subconscious has to, just making sure that sometimes this happens where people are commenting and I can't see. So I don't know if you are or not. So hopefully nobody's asking questions. If you are, I will go back and answer them later. So we have to rewire the brain because our nervous system actually gets wired a certain way. So we can actually wire our nervous system for bad habits. For instance, let's say you get triggered at some point in your day and you want to go like numb out those feelings because it's a trigger. If it's in the unconscious / subconscious, if that trigger is in the unconscious and you're not aware of it yet, you're just going to feel this uncomfortable feeling and think, I need something to feel better. And so that's when people develop addictions. And addiction isn't just drugs and alcohol. There's addictions to, checking out via your cell phone and scrolling on Facebook. There's addiction to food. So your thing might be, a lot of people that I work with have emotional eating issues. So it's like, I feel that uncomfortable feeling. I want to go eat something that I know will make me feel better. So maybe I go through the drive-through at a local fast food place, or I go for the chocolate cake in the refrigerator, or whatever the case may be. So instead of handling the feeling, I'm going for what's going to give me that quick hit of serotonin so I can feel better. So that's a lot of words, but it's a lot of words to say that one of the major things that has to happen, these are three major things that have to happen for you to move to that next level version. The first is a rewiring, a repatterning of your brain to move out of those old triggers, so to become aware of them, like what's triggering me, why is it triggering me, to work on handling that as it comes up or in a process the next day, for instance, instead of ignoring it and then reaching for whatever is going to make you feel good, the quick feel goods. And we can do that through tapping and subconscious mind energy clearing work, which is what I do. And my coaches do too. So we can reprogram our brain through these repatterning techniques and energy healing that can go in and clear them from the subconscious in a more full way. The second thing in this, what I just said kind of leads into the second, and that is, in order to move to the next version of ourselves, we have to be able to connect to and feel our feelings. So it's very similar to what I just talked about. Instead of reaching for the quick fix, I'm sitting with myself, I'm going through a process to feel what I'm feeling, to embody it, to know that it's safe to feel my feelings. We can't just say this stuff. Here's a big rift that comes in self-help personal growth world. A lot of it's just like, just think positive, just say positive things. And I'm all about that. That is a piece of the puzzle, right? It's kind of like saying your goals. It's one thing to say them, it's another thing to embody them and to take the actions needed to move forward in them. Okay, so if you're still watching, I just want to throw this out now. I do have a workshop coming up this Saturday from 10:30 to 12:30. It's virtual, so it's online. And we're going to be going into these tools, these techniques to help you move to that next level version of yourself and to actually make your New Year's resolutions happen. It would be amazing if you could be there live. If you can't, there will be a replay option. And I'll leave links to both of those below. But so the first step is we got to rewire the brain by repatterning it, by pulling out of the unconscious the stuff that's no longer useful, and putting in what it is we actually truly want. The next step is we have to connect to and feel our feelings and teach our nervous system that it's safe to feel these things. Because as somebody who ran from her feelings for years, because I felt they were extremely unsafe, because I had experienced trauma in my life, that was one of the most profound things that helped me move forward, was really starting to feel my feelings and to teach my nervous system that it's safe to feel those things and to embody different physical practices, because it's not just the head, it's also the body. We've got to incorporate the whole being into this, because our cells hold trauma, our cells hold this lack of safety in feeling. Okay, so when we're willing to do this, when we're willing to feel our feelings, it's gonna heal the trauma that you've experienced in the past that maybe you're unconscious of. It'll just start to heal that stuff. And you don't have to keep, I think people think when you're doing this work, like, oh gosh, it's kind of like therapy. I'm going to have to keep talking about it over and over and over and over and over again. And that's not what this work is. It's not regurgitating the past over and over. It's letting whatever wants to come to the surface to come up, see it with your conscious awareness, bring light to it, and bring some sort of healing to it. Because what we typically do is it comes to the surface, like somebody triggers you, your partner triggers you or something, and then we like push it back down when we pick up our phones and start scrolling, like, ugh, I don't want to feel that uncomfortable feeling. I'm just going to sit here and scroll and look through Facebook. Anything to not feel that, right? So when we do that, we shove that feeling back down and we say, not today, and then it sits and it percolates till it has the next experience to come up and come out. And that'll just keep happening until we look at it with our conscious awareness and integrate it into our being and tell ourselves it's safe to feel this and show our nervous system that it's safe to feel this, okay? And then the last step is, I mentioned this earlier, taking aligned actions. So it's not the actions that your ego is telling you to take, like, well, I gotta go do this in my business because that's what everybody else is doing. That would be an ego thing. Or I have to lose weight this way because that's what how everybody else is doing it. If your goal is to lose weight, it's taking time each day to be quiet with yourself. Maybe it's only 5 minutes in the morning, it doesn't matter when you do it, but taking time each day to be quiet with yourself and to listen to your intuition. And some of us are still learning how to be with and connect to our intuition, but it's there. You have a guiding system guiding you all the time. It's just a matter of, is my ego getting in the way? Is my ego voice louder than my intuition? And how do I quiet that ego voice so I can hear the voice of my higher self, my intuition, that's guiding me forward? So that's a process that takes a little bit of being with yourself to listen to what is that next aligned action for me. And it's going to look a lot different than what your ego is going to tell you to do. And it's going to be a hell of a lot easier to manifest what you want when you're taking aligned action versus forced, controlled, thinking you have to do it this way because that's what other people do kind of action. And for the most part, those aligned actions are going to feel scary. So a lot of times people will think, oh, and I know I've done this before too. Oh, I need to go my aligned action is this. I need to go speak my truth to this person. That's kind of been a toxic relationship for me. I need to go speak my truth. I need to set a boundary. And then I go and do it, and all of a sudden I have anxiety, my hands are shaking, my armpits are sweating, I feel like I'm about to jump off of a cliff. It's the scariest frickin' thing I've ever had to do. And so I back away and I say, oh, I'm not supposed to do this, because if I was supposed to do this, it would be a lot easier than this. That's where we misstep. If you're feeling that uncomfortable about taking an action that you've been guided to take, you're in the right place. And all that anxiety and all that mucky resistance is coming to the surface because it's literally that big of a next step for you. So once you take that step, so I'm using the armpit sweating and everything else to just describe one quick example for me, which was years ago. I lived in an apartment and I had these upstairs neighbors that were really loud. They were these two young brothers, and there were two entrances into their apartment, a front entrance and a back entrance. The back entrance was where they parked, so it was really easy. You park your car, it takes 2 seconds to walk up your steps and get into your house, right? That was the easy route. However, their steps were right above my bedroom, and they like to stay up really late. I like to go to bed by 10 o'clock, if not before. And so they would be coming home at like 2 or 3 in the morning, stomping up the stairs, and it would wake me up because their steps were right above my bed. And so this went on for a long time of me just sitting there getting frustrated and just being so angry, like, how disrespectful, and don't they know that I'm trying to sleep down here, and why can't they be more quiet, and all this stuff, right? Thinking that they're going to be able to read my thoughts and know that this was disturbing me. And how many times do we do that? Think about that situation for you right now. A lot of people do this with their spouses, like, he should just know or she should just know what I need, instead of verbalizing it to that person. So I finally, after like months of this going on, I finally said something. I got up the nerve. Even after I got up the nerve, it took me like several times to face them, because I'd get all like, yeah, I'm going to do it today. And then I'd freak myself out. I'd get the resistance. I'd feel the armpit sweating. I'd stop myself. And so finally I did, and it stopped for a while, but then they would start again. And so then I'd have to go back and create another boundary. And eventually I just moved, because I was like, hey, this isn't working for me. I do not live in a place where I have to suffer, right? And it got worse anyway because of other situations. Like, they had other people moving in and with little kids, and yeah, it was just kind of nuts. So at that point I moved. My point of this explanation is, Mirta says no mind readers. Yes, no mind readers. You cannot. Thank you for saying that, because I forgot to mention a point, which was when I shared this with the neighbor, when I said, hey, every time you walk up your stairs at night, it's really loud and it wakes me up. Do you mind just walking around to the front? He was like, oh my gosh, I didn't even know that was happening. Right? I didn't know that was happening is the key word there. So we can't expect people to know what is hurting us, what is making us suffer. We have to verbalize it in a kind, compassionate way. We don't have to be like assholes about it. Like, nah, you did this and you do that, da 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 da. You can say it in a very compassionate, kind way, but you got to verbalize it. And for me and a lot of the people I work with, that is extremely difficult, because there's this people-pleasing thing going on, and this, I don't want to disappoint anybody or hurt anyone. It's a story for another day. To sum all of this up, the point of me sharing that story with you of my neighbors is that the aligned actions that you're going to be asked to take from your higher self, from your soul, are not going to be simple, easy things. They're not going to feel comfortable. If you're just tuning in, go back and watch the whole video where I talk about comfort zones. To grow, to move to the next level version of yourself, you're going to be asked to do things that are next level version. They're going to feel uncomfortable. That's when you know you're in the right place. Don't let the resistance and the fear and the sweaty armpits and the nervousness stop you from taking those actions. So what I've found is that it feels really good to do this kind of stuff with a group. So when you have a group of like-minded individuals that are working with you, they have their own goals that they want to achieve, and they're supporting you, and then you have a mentor or somebody guiding you through a process that is known and that has worked for hundreds of other people and herself, it's more fun, and you're more able to accomplish what it is you want, because you're held in a container of sacred space where everybody's doing their thing to move forward, and people are coming up with their own resistance, but they're sharing about it, and it makes you feel more comfortable for you to feel your own resistance and move forward anyway. So I have 2 opportunities coming up for you. If this is something you want, if you're in that place where you're feeling stuck, or like I said, you're feeling kind of lethargic, maybe bored, maybe tired with life as it is, and you're kind of feeling that pull for something more, but you don't know what that is, but you know that, like, okay, I know it's time to move to my next level version of myself. I'm just not sure how to do that or what that's going to look like, and I'm scared. Then I have some things for you. Okay, so the first thing is happening this Saturday from 10:30 to 12:30. It's my Elevate workshop. And we're going to spend 2 hours together with a group of like-minded women moving towards elevating to that next level version of yourself. So I'm going to have some very specific activities we're going to do together to help you with these 3 points. Let me just repeat them again. I've got them here. To move to your next level version, we have to rewire the brain, undo those patterns and habits that we've been kind of locked into for years, a lot of them based on unresolved trauma. And there's big T trauma and little t trauma. It doesn't have to be that you were abused physically or otherwise, or went through some natural disaster. It could just be you grew up with a parent that didn't really know how to show you affection. And that wired you to have a belief that you weren't good enough, which shows up in all these different areas of your life. I see this all the time, and this was the story for me as well. It's very common, and it takes time, but it is 100% possible to unravel that whole process. Okay, the second thing is we're going to connect to and learn how to connect to our feelings, feel our feelings, and trust that our feelings are safe. Like, give our nervous system experiences. So it's not just woo-woo. I deal in science, psychology, and the woo spirit. Okay, so it's not all woo-woo. There's actually like neuroscience behind this stuff and psychology behind what we do, what I do in my work. And of course, spirit, because that just adds that extra powerful piece into this already amazing puzzle. So we're going to rewire the brain. We're going to connect to feelings, learn to teach our nervous system that it's safe to feel these feelings and embody them. We're going to do some embodiment work, and then we're going to take some aligned actions that are going to move you to that next step, or at least create an action plan to get you there. Okay, so that's this Saturday from 10:30 to 12:30 Central Standard Time. If you can be there live, that's great. I will place a link underneath this video, or you can DM me if you want to ask any questions. I'll also place a link if you're like, hey, I can't make it on Saturday, but I really want to do that. There's going to be a replay link as well. So I'll place those underneath. The second thing is my Empowered Women 12-week program is coming up March 15th. So it's a little bit out there, but now is the time to register. There's a special discount if you register before February 5th. And that's where we go through 12 weeks of this kind of work and more. And what I see happen for women is a complete transformation of themselves. And not that, oh my gosh, I'm going to be this different person by the end. You're going to be different, but it's going to keep unraveling even after the program. You're going to get so empowered in yourself and in love with yourself and an understanding of yourself and why you do the things that you do, so that when those things come up again, because sometimes they do, you have tools and techniques to work with those things as they come up, so that they don't have this control over you like maybe they had in the past. And you just learn to live from a really authentic, aligned place, taking aligned action no matter how scary it is. So we're going to keep doing that over the 12 weeks, so that by the end of those 3 months, it just kind of becomes who you are. It's your new operating system. We kind of let go of that old operating system and we step into the new one. So DM me if you want information on Empowered Women. Again, it starts March 15th. Both of these things, especially Empowered Women, is going to be completely transformational. The 2-hour workshop on Saturday is just going to give you a really good boost to get you through to that next level, so that you can actually achieve what you want to say you want. So you can actually achieve the things you say that you want, like your New Year's resolution, for example, if you set one of those. So that one's really just like a boost. It's like getting like a vitamin C shot in your arm, like, boom, I'm ready to go. I've got this. Instead of like maybe January 1st, you had all this like excitement, like, yeah, I can do this. And now it's January 28th and you're like, oh gosh, this is exhausting, or I've lost my motivation. This is the vitamin C shot in your arm. It's going to give you that motivation to go forward. And then the 12-week Empowered Women program is like a complete transformational mind, body, spirit boost in every single way that just keeps going on and on and on. It's a complete reboot of your entire system. And it's not scary because you have a group of people you're doing it with and me guiding you through that process. So I would love to hear how all this information landed for you today. If you have any questions, please leave them below or send me a message. And I just thank you all of you that were here today. I thank you for being here. And share this video with anybody that you feel like is ready to move to their next level. And maybe they're feeling stuck or lethargic or tired or any of those things. And let's help each other get out of our comfort zone so we can create the life we want to live and really own it and step into it and feel safe stepping into it, because that's a big part of the piece of the puzzle. All right, thank you all so much for watching. I hope to see you again soon.